The Dropa Stones, alien discs or archaeological fraud. The Dropa Stone story begins in 1938, when a Chinese archaeologist named Chi Pu Tei is alleged to have led an expedition into the Baian-Kara-Ula mountain range on the Tibet-China border. According to the story, the expedition discovered a series of caves containing orderly rows of graves holding small skeletal remains, beings described as frail and large-headed. In the caves, the expedition also found stone discs, approximately 9 inches in diameter, with a hole in the center and spiral grooves covering both faces running from the center to the edge. The discs were allegedly transported to Beijing for study. The story was dormant for decades. Then in 1962, according to the narrative, a researcher named Tsum Nui at the Peking Academy of Prehistory deciphered the spiral grooves on the discs and found they contained tiny text. The decoded text reportedly described a spacecraft crashing 12,000 years ago in the mountains. The crash survivors, called the Dropa, could not repair their craft. The local inhabitants, the Ham people, initially feared them, then gradually accepted them. The decoded message was allegedly so provocative that the Peking Academy initially refused to allow it to be published. The Dropa Stone story entered Western consciousness primarily through a 1968 book by Soviet author Vyacheslav Zaitsev, and then through Erich von Daniken's Chariots of the Gods in 1968. Von Daniken presented the Dropa Stones as genuine archaeological evidence of ancient astronauts. The story was then picked up by Western UFO authors and appeared in countless books and magazines through the 1970s and 1980s. Each retelling added details and treated the previous account as a reliable source. The story accumulated credibility not through verification, but through repetition. The problem with the Dropa Stone story is that none of it can be independently verified. The archaeologist Chi Pu Tei cannot be confirmed as a real person. The Peking Academy of Prehistory, where the stones were studied, cannot be identified with any actual Beijing academic institution. The researcher Tsum Nui, who deciphered the text, cannot be confirmed as a real person. No Western academic ever claimed to have seen the stones. No photograph of the actual stones, as opposed to illustrations, was ever published. The physical specimens, if they existed, were never examined by independent researchers. Investigative researchers have traced the Dropa Stone story to its apparent origin. A 1960 German-language article making unverifiable claims, which was then cited and elaborated by Soviet and Western UFO authors. The pattern is consistent with folklore creation rather than archaeological discovery. No primary source, no physical evidence, accounts that grow more detailed over time, and a consistent failure of any direct investigation to confirm the central claims. When journalists and researchers visited the Baian-Kara-Ula region, they found no evidence of the caves, the graves, or the small-boned people described. The Dropa story does contain one element that has a basis in reality. The Baian-Kara-Ula mountains are a real place, and there are real ethnic groups in the region, the Drung and other peoples, who are notably small in stature and physically distinct from Han Chinese. Real archaeological sites in the region contain ancient artifacts. Researchers who have conflated these real features with the fictional Dropa narrative have sometimes created new secondary sources that appear to corroborate the story. The mixture of real geography with fabricated archaeology is what has allowed the story to persist. In the 1990s, a German researcher named Hartwig Hausdorff claimed to have seen Dropa stones in a Banpo museum storage room in China. He produced a photograph of several stone discs. However, the discs in the photograph do not match the described specifications of the Dropa stones. They lack the spiral microtext, have a different appearance, and museum officials denied knowledge of their alleged extraterrestrial significance. Hausdorff's photograph is now considered to show ordinary archaeological artifacts that he misidentified or misrepresented. The Dropa stones are almost certainly a fabrication, a story that originated in a poorly sourced 1960 publication and grew through uncritical repetition into an elaborately detailed piece of UFO mythology. There are no stones. There is no Chi Pu Tei. There is no Tsum Nui. There is no decoded alien message. The story persists because it is compelling, and because it is impossible to fully disprove a story whose physical evidence does not exist. The absence of evidence cannot prove the absence of the stones, only confirm that no one has found them, studied them, or produced a single verifiable piece of documentation that they ever existed.